All right then. Hello everyone. Welcome to TANA's SAT Summer Program 2022 Summer. It's so good to see you all, and thank you all for turning your cameras on. At least a lot of you. If we could just get like everyone to turn on your cameras for just like 5 minutes, that would be good because we want to get some like good pictures of everyone. Just to make sure and that everyone's here. I'm going to and yeah, here are the teachers, me, Hasif Garapati, and Christopher Bonk, or as I like to refer as Mr. Chris. He is a very good teacher. You guys will be having Mr. Chris later in this program in like the last 5 sessions of the program, and he is very good. He was actually my personal tutor, so that should tell you something. And yeah, with all the stuffy stuff out of the way, let's get into actually talking about this test. Okay, so what is the SAT and why is it so important? So it is a standardized test taken by a lot of American students in high school, sometimes taken internationally too, if you're hoping to get into an American college outside of the country. And it's important because it is a factor that colleges will look at to determine your academic strength. And they're not guaranteed to get you into a good college at all. If anything, they only supplement what you already have as a good student in school, but it can be a way for you to measure yourself and see how overall intelligent you are in terms of the things you need for college. And nowadays, there's been some concerns with the SAT and its validity because everyone knows this, like in the past 2 years or 1 year, there have been some schools that have been going test optional, which means that you don't need an SAT or ACT score to apply. And don't get us wrong, the colleges are not saying you don't have to take the standardized test. What they mean is, if it's difficult for you to take the test, or because of COVID, you couldn't take the test, or if you feel like your base academics and extracurriculars, especially extracurriculars, are strong, then you don't need to apply with a test. Yeah, and a lot of schools that are going test optional are big league ones like Yale, Princeton, Harvard, like the holy trinity of colleges that like everyone and their Indian parents wants their kid to get into. And however, just so you know, this is only confirmed for the 2022-2023 cycle so far. So maybe in 2024, if there's any 10th graders or maybe any 11th graders, this might not apply to you. So don't slack off. Like if you're a junior, you still need to pay attention because the SAT has not lost its importance. So what exactly is on the SAT? So the SAT math will cover all basic math content that you would have learned in high school if you were following a standard curriculum, which is Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. The reasoning is that you would take Algebra 1 in 9th, Geometry in 10th, and Algebra 2 in 11th. If you are ahead and you're doing these courses earlier than the schedule I just said, then power to you. That means you can start hyper prepping even harder and earlier than most of your peers. And there will be two sections, a calculator and a non-calculator section. And the non-calculator section is 20 questions, 25 minutes. It's not that long. The calculator section is 38 questions and 55 minutes. They give you more time for the calculator section because, well, it's more questions, but also the questions are more complicated since they're giving you a calculator and they want to balance out that advantage you'll get. There's also going to be a lot of multiple choice questions and a couple of grading questions, which is a computer readable free response. You'll see what that is like when you take an actual practice test. It's not that complicated. There's also going to be a lot of word problems and application questions. Now for reading, there's no like strict high school curriculum that matches to reading, but you should know how to analyze text, extract information, and make conclusions from the text, analyze the author, their intent, and why they're saying what they're saying. And also you need to know basic vocab, analyzing graphs and data, and grasping the whole picture of the passage. There's going to be 65 minutes to answer 52 questions, and there's going to be 4 passages. So that is around 13 questions per passage. The writing section is it's pretty simple. It's like on par with the math section in terms of simplicity. You just need to know your writing skills, like proper grammar usage, identification, and utilizing the context of the sentence to properly pinpoint the right grammar you need to use. And you also need to know proper implementation of writing techniques, advanced ones. And you also need to know how to connect ideas between sentences, which means like writing in a certain way so that the two sentences are joined and the paragraphs as well have their ideas connect to each other. There's going to be 35 minutes to answer 44 questions, which sounds kind of crazy. It's like not a lot of time for a lot of questions, but these questions are usually insanely simple. So you're just going to look at a question. You're probably going to answer it in 10 seconds most of the time. So don't worry too much about that. Excuse me. So dates. The SAT test date for this year in summer is August 27th, and there's a couple of ones in the fall, like October and November. If you're a junior and you're trying to do a last minute SAT test for your college applications, we highly recommend doing the August one and the October one. November might be a little bit too late because SAT test scores take a long time to come back. Like I remember my scores, one of them took over a month to come back. So yeah, you should definitely organize around that. And the registration deadline for the August 27th test is actually July 29th, which is today. So after the session, if you haven't signed up for a test and you're thinking about signing up for the August 27th test, then you need to do that today. There's also a late registration, which is by August 16th, but they'll charge you a hefty amount of extra money for doing that. So yeah, you should probably decide today if you're serious about taking the test. It seems like I'll take questions at the end of this SAT discussion. So you keep your hand up though. Okay. So about, oh, wow, what's that? Let's just ignore that. Okay, so in terms of percentiles, oh boy, that is kind of annoying. Okay, back to normal. In terms of percentiles, I hope most of you know this, but in case you don't, this isn't the kind of test you're supposed to get 100% on. You need to look at it in terms of percentile and how you compare to your other students. I know there might be a lot of you who are used to getting 100% on every single test you took. That's not really how it works on the SAT, unless you're an academic god who also happened to get very lucky on the test. So just to give you an idea of how the rankings work, a 1520 and above is considered the 99th percentile. So if you get like around 1500, then you are far beyond set. Like you are really, really good. 90th percentile is 1350, which is pretty great. And then, okay, the 75th percentile, 1200, 1210, it says good, but if I'm being honest, it's not really that good. Like if even for getting into a state college, a 1200 is still not that good. You should ideally be aiming for 1350 and above. If you want to get into a decent college or a good college, aim for a 1400. But if you want to go to like the top of the top colleges, you need to probably get a 1500 or above. And these are like the top of the top, like Johns Hopkins or Harvard or Princeton, like I said. Also, there are some major testing changes happening. They'll be coming in 2024. But what's happening is that in this new test, they will be going digital. The test will be done on a computer, and the test is overall going to be shortened, and it's going to be adaptive, which means that when you answer a question, depending on whether or not you got it right or your overall performance on the test up to that point, they're going to modify and change the questions that you get next. And this is done to prevent cheating. And also a calculator will be usable for the entire math portion of the exam. This doesn't mean you don't need to do mental math or learn how to do mental math, because there are a lot of times where it's just way easier to do it in your head rather than busting out the calculator and typing it and taking like 5 times as much time to do something you could have done up here. Also, results are going to be much faster than before since it's a digital test, and they'll have digital checking programs, which is a godsend because, like I said, you had to wait so long for your test back then. So international students are going to be taking this new version in 2023. The international students are kind of like the guinea pigs. They're going to test this digital version on them. And then the US students will be taking it in 2024. This will probably apply to you if you are a sophomore, or maybe if you're a sophomore, because you might be taking your test around that time. Phew. All right, I'm just gonna take a break. Okay, so let's get to actually learning stuff. So the way this is gonna work is we're gonna start with math first, and then we're gonna move on to English after that. And math will take up roughly 6 sessions. So let's get started. So here's some basic linear algebra. So linear algebra is the basis of a lot of math on the SAT, and it includes really simple things like giving you an expression containing variables, and then giving you the value of said variables, and then having you plug them into the expression to find out the value it's talking about. There's also going to be questions, as you can see in like the top in the dark font. You're going to have to learn how to deal with linear equations and figure out where points lie on the line, depending on what their x or y values are. So yeah, that's pretty much basic linear algebra. And what they're going to do often is they are going to turn linear algebra into word problems. Also, seems like we have a question. Yeah, you can unmute yourself if you'd like.
We can't see your screen. Are you sharing your screen?
Sorry, we cannot hear you properly.
I can't see your screen.
You can't?
No.
Pull that mic to you, close to you.
Okay. That is strange. There might be a technical difficulty.
Pull that black mic close to you.
Yeah. Is the screen showing up on your end? Okay, then that might be a personal problem on your end. So you should probably try and get that fixed up. Unfortunately, we cannot pause the program because of the issues of one person.
This session is being recorded, right? If we missed one of these sessions for any reason, are you going to share the recording with everyone and the PowerPoint as well?
Yeah, no, sorry. Unfortunately, we can't do that due to TANA policy. I'll give you resources to study, but we cannot share the recording, unfortunately, unlike last time.
Okay, so you'll give the resources at the end of every session, or like you'll send an email to
I'll give
everyone?
study resources, but I won't be able to give the PowerPoint, unfortunately, either.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. All right, then. So let's check out some of these word problems. So what they're going to do is sometimes they might give you a slab of general information, and you're going to have to answer multiple questions on the slab of information. If you notice, every single question starts the same way. For the first question, for example, in 2014, County X had 783 miles of paved roads. Starting in 2015, the county has been building 8 miles of new paved roads each year. At this rate, how many miles of paved road will County X have in 2023? Now, this is basic algebra. We need to know how many miles of paved road we're going to have in total by 2023. We start out with 783, and they start in 2015. So up till 2030, that is 15 years, and they built 8 miles of road a year. So we have to do 15 times 8. And then 15 times 8 is 120. So this will be 903. 903 miles of paved road. So for the next question, they're asking something a little different. At the current rate, in this current rate, which year will County X have at least 1,000 miles of paved road. So they're asking, in what year are we going to have it so that at the beginning of the year, we have at least 1,000 miles of paved road. So what you can do is you can set the mile value to 1,000 and then say, okay, 1,000 is equal to 783 miles of already built road plus 8 times X, and X is the years. So you can, just do some mental math or bust out your calculator. I'll permit calculator use because, like I said, the SAT will be changing, but mental math will be better overall. So, okay, 217 is equal to 8x. We subtract 783 from both sides, and then we're going to divide both sides by 8. Sorry, my 8 got a little bit cut off down there. That's all right, though. And we get x is equal to 27.125. Now the thing, 27.125, yeah. So the thing is that we can't put a decimal because they're asking in what year will County X have it. You can't say, oh, in the year 2027.125, we need to give either 27 or 28. So since the value is obviously higher than 27, we can assume that in 27 years, they'll be close to 1,000 miles, but they won't have exactly 1,000 miles. So only in 28 years will they have 1,000 miles. And that means that in 2043 is when they're going to have at least 1,000 miles of paved road. Now, the next question so same information. So at this rate, if n is the number of years after 2014, which of the following functions gives the number of miles of paved road that there's going to be in County X? So this is pretty easy because we sort of answered this question in one of our previous questions. They're giving you information and you have to turn that information into a function. Now, if they say X amount of things is added per this unit, it's like a dead giveaway that this is a linear function, and linear functions, as most of you should know, is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, or in other words, it is the starting value. So the starting value should be 783, and which question has a starting value of 783? It's this one. And then it also has mx, or in this case, n. So we need to attach 8 to the n, and c also has 8n. So c will be the correct answer, therefore. So let's move on. So I want you guys to try this a little bit for yourself. I am going to give you 3 minutes to do this, starting now. All right, then everybody, 3 minutes are over. So let's come back and check out these questions. By the way, if you have extra time after answering the question, then you can just sort of take that as a mini break because, well, your parents signed you up for a 2-hour program that is meeting 3 times a week. So frankly, y'all deserve like a mini rest here and there. So yeah. So to edit a manuscript, Miguel charges $50 for the first 2 hours and $20 per hour after the first 2 hours. So which expression expresses the amount of money he makes? So, and also X has to be greater than 2. So a lot of you, what you're probably going to think is, oh, okay, well, he starts with 50 and then it's $20 per hour. So it's got to be C is equal to 20x plus 50, right? Wrong. Because Miguel charges $50 for the first 2 hours. So that means that the first 2 hours are null. He's not getting any extra money for the first 2 hours other than the flat 50 he was paid. So in order to represent the variable so that it's giving, basically we need to not look at the hours he's doing, we need to look at how many extra hours he is doing after 2 hours. And to represent that, we would do x minus 2. this is the new variable we're going to use instead of x, and it's going to give us a new equation. C is equal to 20 times x minus 2 plus 50. And then C, that's going to turn into C is equal to 20x minus 40. Sorry, my tablet's kind of wonky sometimes, so lines will get cut. But that's going to turn to 20x plus 10. So the correct answer, therefore, is B. That's why you have to watch out for a lot of questions on the SAT, because sometimes they'll seem simple, but if they have a lot of text, it might be worth it to look a little bit carefully so that you don't miss anything important. Now, the next question. A builder uses the function g defined by g of x is equal to 80x plus 10,000 to estimate the cost to build a one-story home. And the builder estimates that it costs $106,000 to build this home. So what is the planned floor area of the home? So they're giving us the function, and g is the planned floor area. Sorry, no, g of x is the amount of money that is being spent. So if he is spending that much money, then we just plug $106,000 into g of x and we solve the equation. So 106,000 is equal to 80x plus 10K, 10,000. And we're gonna subtract 10K from that. So that's gonna be 96,000. Also, I'm just gonna say, if you don't know, K means 1,000. Most of you guys probably know this, but I was once a kid who didn't know this. So yeah, just putting that out there. 96,000 is equal to 80x. And then you can use your calculator for this, or you actually don't need to use your calculator for this. But if you do, 96,000 divided by 80, that is going to be 1,200 is equal to x. Let me just put the divide by 80 there. Yeah. So all in all, the planned floor area of the home is 12,000. The unit's also important, feet squared. Sorry, it's a little bit cramped there, but you should be able to understand that. Also a question, what did you get? X minus 2. We got x minus 2 from the first question because we're disregarding the first 2 hours, because the first 2 hours he's not actually getting any extra money. Yes, let me just change some things around. Okay, seems like one of you has a question. You can ask it if you'd like.
Could you please go over the first question again?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, unfortunately, we won't be able to go over questions completely overall, so I'll just give a quick redo. He charges $50 for the first 2 hours and then $20 per hour after the first 2 hours. So he's only going to be charging $50 initially, and then after that it's going to be $20 after the first 2 hours. So let's say if you were charging him for 3 hours, it's going to be 50 plus 20, which is a 70 total, because first 2 hours are not extra money, but then the last hour, 1 hour, is extra money. So in order to represent the variable, we need to do x minus 2 to represent we're ignoring the first 2 hours. Okay, let's continue on. And yeah, we already checked these. So now we are going to try it again. This is the question that I made myself. Just to let you know how this is going to work, we're going to be using a combination of actual test material from SAT tests, and we're going to also be using a couple of questions that I make myself. So I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes as well to answer this starting now. All right, then everybody, 3 minutes are up. So let's come back and check out this question. So Sino is a food truck owner, and every month he pays a $2,000 fee for his truck permit. So he has to pay money first to actually get the truck, and he sells a single piece of fried chicken to a customer for $3. So he needs to make enough money to keep up and keep his truck around. So which expression expresses the amount of profit Sino gains per month, where X represents the amount of chicken pieces he sold and Y represents the total profit? So profit is the amount of money you make after considering all expenses. And one of his Sino's expenses is the $2,000 permit fee that he needs to pay. So initially, he actually starts out at minus $2,000. So our starting point should be negative 2,000, and or in other words, our y-intercept. And for C and D, they are not negative 2,000, so they are wrong. Now, if X represents the amount of chicken pieces he sells it for $3 a piece. So the slope has to be 3 to represent that he's selling a chicken piece for $3. B has 1/3, so it can't be B. Therefore, it has to be A. Now they're giving us an actual value. If Sino sells 1,500 pieces of chicken by the end of the month, how much money did he make in profit? So we can just use the equation we figured out from before and apply it to this. Y is equal to 3 times 1,500 minus 2,000, which is equal to 4,500 minus 2,000, which equals 2,500. So the correct answer should be B. Let us move on. Oh, okay, my bad. So solving systems of equations. This is pretty basic. Basically, it's where they give you 2 equations or 2 linear equations specifically, and you have to figure out the X and Y coordinate where the points cross or where they intersect. And you can do this mathematically. That is usually how you'll do it. So what you're going to do is the most popular way to deal with the systems of equations is to subtract the equations from each other. And the goal is to get rid of a variable so that you're left with, like, for example, X is equal to something or Y is equal to something. Because if you have X plus Y is equal to 8, oh boy, my tablet's freaking out today. Okay, X plus Y is equal to 8. Well, X and Y could be any number of combinations. But if you just land with X is equal to 2, well, that's simple. Now you know that X is equal to 2. So the problem arises when sometimes when you subtract an equation, even then the X and Y won't go away. So you need to multiply one of the equations so that one of the variables or one of the monomials is the same as the other equation. So what I see here, I see Y and 2Y. If we multiply this entire equation by 2, then this would turn into 2Y. So I'll do that and I'll get 4x plus 2y is equal to 10. And if I subtract, then 3x to 4x, that's going to be negative x. 2y minus 2y is equal to 0. We don't need to put anything there. Then 8 minus 10 is equal to negative 2. And this is pretty easy. We know that x is equal to 2. And now all we have to do is plug x is equal to 2 into one of our previous equations. And then, for example, let's take the first equation. We'll just say, okay, so 2 times 2, we're substituting the x for 2, plus y is equal to 5. This will be 4, and then y is equal to 5 minus 4 because we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. And then we get y is equal to 1. If you really want, You can check your answer by plugging the X and Y value back in if you're not completely sure, but most of the time you won't have to do this if you follow the procedure correctly. And also I see we have a question. You can unmute if you'd like.
Yeah, hi. So I was wondering if you were supposed to multiply by -2, so then you get -2y and then it cancels out, but right now we would get 4y because that was positive.
Well, I used to think that way, but that's actually not really how that works because we are subtracting both equations from each other, and the keyword is subtracting. So this negative sign, like, let me change the color. This negative sign over here is actually kind of applying to all the numbers. So this becomes -4x, that becomes -2y, that becomes -10. You could do this, or I mean, you could do the other way that you suggested, where we multiply by -2, and then you'll get 3x plus, sorry, wait, yeah. You'll get -4x minus 2y is equal to -10, and then you simply add them together, you're gonna get the exact same answer. -x is equal to -2, x is equal to 2. The sign that you use here matters a lot if it's a negative or plus, because if both of them are the same sign, like 2y, positive 2y and positive 2y, you can use a negative sign and you'll be subtracting the equation rather than adding the equation. And you'll end up with the same result, basically.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, now the next question, this one is a little bit trickier because it's not completely obvious which one we need to use or which variable we need to change. You need to think of the lowest common multiple for these variables. So for example, let's choose y again, because this one's going to be easier if I'm going to be honest. So a common multiple of 9 and 6 is 18. So all we need to do to reach 18 for both these equations is multiply a first equation by 2, multiply the second equation by 3. So if we follow through with that, we are going to end up with 16x plus 18y is equal to 180. And then for the next question, we're going to end up with 9x plus 18y is equal to, okay, and then 39 times 3, 7, 2, 1, 1, 7, yeah, 117. Now, we're going to subtract these two equations together. And remember, since they're both positive, we can use the subtraction symbol. So we're subtracting and getting rid of it. If we subtract, then we're going to end up with 16x minus 9x, which is 7x. 18y minus 18y, that is 0. We don't need to put anything there. Then 180 minus 117, which is going to be 63. And we just divide by 7, both sides, and we find out that x is equal to 9. And if x is equal to 9, let's plug that into our second equation. So 3 times 9 is plus 6y is equal to 39. This is 27. If we subtract 27 from both sides, then we get 6y is equal to 12. So y is equal to 12. So the correct answer will be 9, 2. Oh yeah, by the way, that is another suggestion. A lot of things are going to be written in, well, decimal point form. So the first answer, for example, will be written in 2, 1. Yeah, another aspect of solving systems is creating your own system. So let's check out this question. Misa bought a pair of pants and a briefcase at a department store. The sum of the prices of the pants and the briefcase before sales tax is $130. There was no sales tax on the pants, and there was a 9% sales tax on the briefcase. In total, Misa paid, including the sales tax, $136.75. What was the price in dollars of the pants? So for those of you who don't know, a 9% sales tax, that's basically them just saying she had to pay 9% extra for the briefcase. To create a system, we need to take the variables. We need to first figure out what the variables are and then turn them into letters. So what are the variables? We need to find, they're asking, what is the price in dollars of the pants? So you should be able to figure out, okay, so the variables are the clothes and the stuff she bought in general, including the briefcase. So she only got a pair of pants and a briefcase. So let's take the pants, represent that as X, and then the briefcase, I'm just gonna write B, I'm not gonna write that all out. B is equal to Y. So if we do X plus Y, the question says that originally she would pay $130. So X plus Y is equal to $130. X and Y, just to be clear, they refer to the price of the pants. Now the next question, okay, we had to pay 9% extra on the briefcase. So in order to represent that in decimal form, 9% increase will represent increase as positive, represents 1.09 in decimal form. This is going to be helpful for creating the system. So we have X didn't have any sales tax, so X is just by itself. X plus, there's a sales tax on the briefcase, so we have to do 1.09 times Y to represent that as a sales tax, and then afterwards, the price is $136.75. So we can solve for Y pretty easily over here. If we subtract the entire equation or both the equations from each other, just like that, we'll get rid of the X easily. So X minus X is nothing. Y minus 1.09 would be negative 0.09 Y, which is equal to 130 minus 136.75. That will be negative $6.75. So then what we need to do is we need to isolate Y. Isolate means to get the variable by itself, and isolating allows you to figure out the value of a variable. So in order to isolate it, we'll divide both sides by negative 0.09. Don't worry, I don't expect you to do this mentally. You can use the calculator. I don't expect myself to do it mentally, and I'm going to college next year. So yeah, don't feel stressed. Yeah, so if we follow through with that, Y is equal to 75, which means that the pants cost $75. So that is the general idea of how you should go about creating a system. Remember, the steps are first, identify what things should be the variables, and then give them a variable name like X, Y, or A, B, C. And then after that, apply the modifiers, or for example, the 9% sales tax, we represent that as 1.09, and then you simply solve the system. Seems like there's a lot of questions, so I'll only be able to take one or two. So, sorry, yeah.
I was just wondering because it's asking about pants. Is 75 not the cost of the briefcase?
75 is the cost of the briefcase. Actually, yeah, you are correct. My bad. $75 is the cost of the briefcase. And you know what? Time to turn this small error into a case study on how the SAT will constantly cause you to mix match variables with real life. So this is the briefcase. What happens with a lot of students, and sometimes even me, like you just saw, is that you'll deadlock onto a certain variable and you'll find the value of that variable. You'll be like, yes, I finally got the value of the variable, without realizing the question was never asking you for the value of said variable. You need to find the value of the other variable, and the value you just found is only helpful for finding that variable. So she spent $130 before sales tax, and the briefcase originally cost $75. So we can do 130 minus 75, we'll get $55. So the correct answer is 55. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we are going to have to move on. Okay, so I would like you guys to try this question out. It's not even asking you to actually solve anything. It's just asking you to create the system. You're gonna have to do some deep thinking for this. You're gonna have to think about how certain things are represented and solve this question. It's only one question, but I'm gonna give you guys 3 minutes to solve it because it might take a while for some of you. All right then, everybody, 3 minutes are up. So let's come back and check out this question. So each morning, John jogs at 6 miles per hour and he rides a bike at 12 miles per hour. His goal is to jog and ride his bike a total of 9 miles in less than an hour. So he jogs J miles and rides his bike B miles. So which of the following systems represents John's goal? So what is John's goal? He wants to ride his bike at least 9 miles. So at least means that much or more. So we need to use the greater than or equal to symbol. So 9, actually another, I'll flip it because that's how the answers are done. So I did that wrong again. Okay, yeah. So yeah, greater than or equal to 9. J plus B has to be greater than or equal to 9. Now, how do we represent time? Well, he jogs at 6 miles per hour, and J represents the amount of miles he jogged. So if we did J divided by 6, this over here represents the amount of time he spent jogging. Because if you said, okay, he jogged for 6 miles, and you put 6 in here, you replace J with 6 to represent they jogged 6 miles, it would represent that he jogged 1 hour. And we can do the same thing for the bike. So the bike, B, he goes at 12 miles per hour. So we need to represent his bike time by B divided by 12. That's why answers C and D are not going to be right, because you need to divide by 12, not multiply. Answers A and B. The only difference between answers A and B is the way that the sign for the first equation is pointing. A is saying that J and B have to be less than 1 hour, while B is saying it has to be greater than an hour. He says that his goal is to ride his bike for 9 miles for no more than 1 hour. So no more means that 1 is either, so the value has to be less than or equal to 1. That means A is the correct answer. Okay, try it again. So there's going to be 3 variables here. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to solve this question again, starting now. All right, everybody, 3 minutes are up. So let's come back and check out these questions. So Maya went to her local clothes shop to get some new clothes. Sweaters are $20, t-shirts are $13, and sweatshirts cost $19. So which expression represents the amount of money Maya is spending, where A is sweaters, B is t-shirts, and C is sweatshirts? So this shouldn't be that hard. So if A is sweaters, then to represent how much money Maya is spending on sweaters, we need to say 20A. And right off the bat, you can already solve the equation because the correct answer shall be C because it is the only one with 20A. Sometimes on the SAT, you don't need to solve every aspect of the question. You only need to solve one aspect of it and then see which options have that aspect done right. Even if you can't find the correct option, at least you can narrow down your options a little bit. Okay, if Maya spent $183 total, so $183, she bought 5 sweaters and 2 t-shirts. How many sweatshirts did she buy? We need to use our system, or not our system, our equation. So 183 is equal to, okay, she bought 5 sweaters, so 20A will be 20 times 5 to represent she bought 5 sweaters, plus 13 times 2 because she got 2 t-shirts, plus 19C. This turns into 100. This turns into 26. And if we subtract 100 from both sides, and we also subtract 26 from both sides, we end up with 57 is equal to 19C. And if we divide by 19 both sides, C will be equal to 3. So that means she bought 3 sweatshirts. Seems like we have a question. You can unmute if you like.
That allow you to choose 2 correct answers. Like, there's like 2 correct answers. Can you choose whichever one you like? Because on the first question, it could either be A or C.
What exactly? Sorry, your voice is a little bit unclear because of interference. What exactly are you asking? Okay then. Well, if seems like, all right. Well, if nobody else has any questions, then we'll move on, I guess. Okay, this is also pretty basic. Finding the solution of an equation. They ask, what is the solution to the given equation? In order to do this, well, we need to solve it, which means expanding the equation and then isolating the variable in question. So what we need to do here is we need to expand the left side. So we need to apply 3 to both terms inside here. We'll get 3 over 2 minus 3y, which is equal to 3 over 5 plus 15y. Now what we're going to do is we are going to isolate the variable, and we're going to also isolate the constants. So we're going to add 3y to both sides so we can get rid of the negative 3y that is on the left side. We are also going to subtract 3/5 from both sides so we can isolate the constants. And this is also pretty simple. We just make it so that it has a common denominator. So we'll change this to 10 and then 15. We'll change this to 10 and then 9. Sorry, not 9. 6. I was thinking of the answer to the question. But yeah, we'll end up with 9 over 10 is equal to 18y. And we can basically, it's going to be easier to do it the way I'm about to show you. Rather than dividing both sides by 18, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 1 over 18. It's the same thing as dividing, but it helps you visualize everything better. You can use that numerator canceling method where, let me just section it off so you guys don't get confused. Yeah, there's some precision drawing there. Totally. Yay. Okay. The 9 and 18, they'll cancel out each other. So 9 becomes 1, 18 becomes 2. And then we have y is equal to 1 over 20. So that is how you approach these questions. Sometimes you'll get icky answers like that, but overall, as long as you just follow through, you should be fine. So try these yourself. I'm gonna give you guys 3 minutes to do this once again, starting now. All right, then everybody, 3 minutes are up. So let's come back and check out these questions. Okay. So, okay, let us get started. So what is the solution to the given equation? So as usual, we need to expand the equation. So -2, yeah, -2, we're gonna put that into both terms. So we're gonna get, let me just erase that. -6x plus 4.8. Remember, it's -2 times -2.4. So 2 negatives, that results in a positive. This is equal to, okay, -3 times 3x. That is -9x. We're expanding the right side right now. And then -3 times -2.4, that is going to be positive 7.2. Now what we need to do, we need to isolate the x variable. So let's add 9x to both sides. Subtract 4.8 from both sides to get rid of the 4.8 on the left side. And we end up with 3x is equal to, what is it? 2.4. And we divide by 3. X is equal to 0.8. Oh yeah, a lot of people are asking about calculator and stuff. This question, because they use decimals and it is relatively solvable without a calculator, 100%, it would be on the non-calculator section. And yeah, don't forget, like for the current test that most of you will be taking, unless you happen to be in the 2024 cycle, you're gonna have a non-calculator and a calculator section. Okay, next question. What is the solution to a system of equations above? So this one, a little bit tougher. We need to expand more and rearrange more. So what I like to do is what I like to do is I like to isolate or at least shift all the variables to one side of the equation and keep all the constants on the other side of the equation. So, for example, with the first equation, I'm going to subtract 4y from both sides. I'm going to erase that, don't worry. But basically, we'll end up with -2x minus 4y is equal to 6. And then for the next question, oh yeah, also, by the way, I'm only turning chat on for people to ask questions if they don't like to speak. But if you guys are going to keep on arguing in chat, I'm going to be forced to disable it. So yeah, like chill out in the chat, please. Chat only for questions, okay? Okay, the next one, let's expand. So if we expand, that's going to be 4y plus 6 is equal 3x minus 5. And we're going to isolate again. So, okay, let's subtract 3x from both sides and subtract 6 from both sides. We're going to end up with -3x plus 4y, which is equal to -5 minus 6, which is going to be -11. So let's bring our equations back here. These are the two new equations we're going to deal with. And what we can do is we can simply add them together because the 4y is positive on top and it's going to be a -4y on the bottom. So we only need to add them so they cancel out each other. -3x plus -2x, that's going to be -5x, which is equal to, okay, -11 plus 6, that is -5. So x is equal to 1. Right off the bat, we can eliminate c and d because they have -1 as their x coordinate. And then for y, we can just plug x into one of the previous equations. So I'm going to plug it into this equation up here. -2 times 1 is equal to 4y. Oh my God, my tablet's really freaking out. Just refuses to draw sometimes. I have to replace the pen tip. But yeah, we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. -8 is equal to 4y. And then therefore y is equal to negative. Oh my God, what is wrong with this tablet? Oh wait, I'm out of bounds. Okay, let's just write it up here. Y is equal to -2. So, oh wait, I accidentally skipped forward. Yep, y is equal to -2. Therefore, the answer is B. One person asked for a second question, wouldn't plugging in the answers be quicker? No, it actually wouldn't, because these questions are, well, somewhat more complicated. You have to expand them. If you tried to do that, it would take a lot longer. The only reason it seems slow right now is because I'm purposefully going slow. In the real exam, when you have practice, you are going to blaze through this lightning quick. No problems at all. And if you think you can't, I have faith in you guys. Okay, let's see you guys do this again. 3 minutes starting now. All right, then everybody, 3 minutes are up, or I should say, well, a little bit more than 3 minutes. Sorry, I had to take care of a little bit something, but yeah, let's get back to it. There have been some concerns about accommodations, like if you can't make the meeting or if you need to leave in the middle. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about that, and I can't change anything. I'm not allowed to give out slides or recordings, so I'm sorry about that. Oh, and also, is there going to be geometry on the test? Oh yeah, there's going to be a heck lot of geometry on the test. So if you guys are struggling with the geometry, then yeah, you're going to need to deal with that. Okay, what is the solution of the following equation? Let's just expand it as normal. So -y plus 10 is equal, okay, if we expand it, 1/10 times 20y, that's going to be 2y. 1/10 times -200, it's going to be -20. Subtract 2y from both sides. Subtract 10 from both sides. You get -3y is equal to -30. Y is equal to 10. D is the correct answer. What is the solution of the following system of equations? So this is pretty simple. We just need to isolate one of the variables. You can choose any one to do. I'm going to choose the top one, and I'm going to modify the 3y. So times 2, that is equal to 16x plus 6y, which is equal to 30. We're going to subtract second equation from this. this is going to turn into 12x, which is equal to 78. If we divide that by 12, 78 divided by 12, that will be 6.5. Another question, in terms of time, would substitution be faster or would elimination be faster when solving systems of equation? Honestly, it depends. Either one can be good. Substitution is better if you have very simple variables like just a plain old y or a plain old x. Elimination is better if there's a lot of complicated monomials and you need to multiply one of the variables, or you need to multiply one of the equations so that you can equate them together. Okay, and next portion. So before we move on, we need to talk about the relationships between linear lines. There are three major relationships, or rather solution types. So there are situations where there are no solutions between two lines. This occurs when they are parallel, which means that they have the same slope, and that means that the lines never touch. Oh yeah, some of you were asking about the previous one. Yeah, the 6.5 is x is equal to 6.5, and you can easily find the y value from there. Unfortunately, I had to cut that portion out, even though it's easily solvable because we don't have a lot of time right now. All solutions is when the lines are identical. And you might tell me, oh, well, it's obvious when they're identical, right? Why would I need to know this? Well, you know, sometimes you'll get things like 8x plus 6y is equal to 2. And then you'll get 4y is equal, 4y plus 3y is equal to 1. Now they look different, but they're actually the same thing because the second equation is just the top equation cut in half. They would both have the exact same line. Now one solution is the general most common solution where the lines are going to have a different slope and they're going to intersect at one point. Even if the slope is different by just 0.0001, that means it's only going to have one solution. They're only going to intersect at one point. Let me see the chart. Okay. So let's think about application. So for the first question, for example, they ask, how many solutions does the given system of equations have? So they're going to ask if it's impossible, if it has 0 solutions, 1 solution, or infinitely many solutions. So this corresponds to what we just discussed. 0 solutions means they are parallel. Exactly 1 solution means that they are standard, or what did I call them? Okay, well, yeah, it's just normal. They have different slopes. And that infinitely many means that they're the same line. Exactly 2, there's really no reason this answer is here. Exactly 2, this would only occur if it were dealing with quadratic equations, which we will discuss much later. So let's check out the above system. 2y plus 6x is equal to 3, and then y plus 3x is equal to 2. We're going to do a little bit something different here, where we're going to take the 3x, subtract 3x from both sides, and we're going to end up with y is equal 2 minus 3x. We're going to take this y, substitute it in here, and then do 2 times 2 minus 3x plus 6x, which is equal to 3. If we expand this, we'll get 4 minus 6x plus 6x, which is equal to 3. And then here, that just cancels out. We end up with 4 is equal to 3. Now, this is a problem because 4 is obviously not equal to 3. What does this mean? If you are solving a system, they're asking you how many solutions it has, you end up with a false equality. That means that there is no solutions, 0 solutions, because the solving says that something impossible would be happening with this equation, which means that there's no solutions. Also, like I said, no discussions in the chat, or at least not too many discussions. It should be reserved for questions focused on the slide material. Most of the questions you guys are asking there, they can easily be found online. Oh, and one person asked, how will you know if you have one solution or infinitely many solutions? Yeah, I'll go over that right now. So like we said, impossible solutions have no solutions. You're going to end up with something like 4 is equal to 3, which is not correct. Normal systems have one solution. This occurs when you're solving for a variable and you just solve the system and you'll just naturally get something like x is equal to 1 and then y is equal to 2. If you can solve the system, that means that there is one solution. Simple as that. Now, if you have two equations where they are basically identical to each other, you're going to end up with a statement that is always true. So you could end up with something like 3 is equal to 3 or 0 is equal to 0. If you get these statements that are always true, and they're always going to be true because you can't change them, there's no variables in there for you to manipulate, that means that it has infinite amount of solutions. Let me just take a little swig right now. Okay, next question. In the system of equations above, a and b are constants. If the system has infinitely many solutions, what is the value of a? This one is a little bit different from the previous ones. So they're saying, okay, the system has infinitely many solutions. What does that mean? It means that the system or the two equations are basically equal to each other. Now, that means proportionally equal to each other. So what is the difference between these equations? Well, you'll see the second equation, if they both are the same exact equation, basically, then that means we can take a look at the relationship between the two already stated values, 3s and negative 15s, and conclude if they are the same equation, then the bottom equation is just the top equation multiplied by negative 5. For example, b therefore would be equal to negative no, it would be equal to positive 10 because negative 2 times negative 5 is equal to 10. Now, a times negative 5 is equal to negative 7. We can simply solve this. A is equal to 7 over 5. It's positive 7 over 5 because if you do negative 7 divided by negative 5, the negatives cancel each other out. Oh yeah, one person just wanted some clarification. So basically, one solutions are like finding a coordinate plane or a solution on the coordinate plane. Yes, that is correct. If you find an x and y value successfully, that means there's only one solution. We're talking about linear equations, by the way. Quadratics and other stuff, that's different. And the other two remaining ones are where you don't have an X or Y value. Yes, the only difference between no solutions and all solutions, or in other words, infinite solutions, is if it's a false statement or it is a always true statement. Okay, so here are some systems equations. We're gonna spend 5 minutes doing this, starting now. There's a lot of questions, so I'll give you more time. All right, then everybody, let's come back. So in this, oh yeah, a little bit of an error with the last problem. People are asking where the A is. My bad, there used to be an A, but I had to update these questions. The thing is, you actually don't need A to solve this question, so you should be able to solve it regardless. Okay, how many solutions does the above system have? So are they the same equation? Let's check that out first. So it's very clear that bottom equation is like just multiplied by 3 of the top one, at least on the left side. If we multiply this by 3, we get 24x plus 36y is equal to 30. Now, these two portions are exactly equal to each other, and if we substitute them, we get 30 is equal to 40, which is a false statement. Therefore, this answer is no solutions. There are 0 solutions because it is a false statement. The next question, x plus 5y, 8x plus 40y is equal to 160. Let's see if they're the same equation. If we multiply this by 8, that turns into 8x plus 40y, which is equal to 160. How many solutions does the above system have? They're both exactly the same equation, so this system has infinite amount of solutions. The top equation, so this equation over here, it seems like we can simply solve this equation. They don't seem to be the same equation at all. And if we try partially solving it, let's, for example, multiply this by 2. So this will turn into 16x plus 8y is equal to 40. And let's bring the second equation down here. 6x plus 8y is equal to 10. We subtract. We get 10x is equal to 30. 8y minus 8y is equal to 0. So we have an 10x equal to 30, or x is equal to 3. Because this system is solvable, because we already found x, we know that this system only has one solution. Remember, any linear system that is solvable, or you can find where you can find the x and y values, it only has one solution. Fourth question, made this one a little bit annoyingly tough on purpose. So ignore the A. B is a constant. If the system has no real solutions, what value is not possible for B? So they say that the system has no real solutions. What does that mean? Well, if it has no real solutions, that means that the equations can theoretically never be equal to each other. And in order to solve this question, it can be helpful to look at the opposite side. Okay, well, what would make it so that the system has an infinite amount of solutions? Well, if it has an infinite amount of solutions, it means that they're proportionally the exact same equation. So the bottom equation is just the top equation multiplied by 3. We can apply this to the top and say, okay, if B is equal to 27, then that means that there would be an infinite amount of solutions. So, however, we are trying to look for the answer where B is not 27, because we don't want infinite solutions, we want no solutions. And in order to get no solutions, we have to make the value simply anything but 27. So the value not possible for B is going to be, well, answer B, 27. I know there's like a lot of mental loopholes associated with this, but that's simply how it goes on the SAT sometimes. Sometimes you're going to get questions that feel unnecessarily confusing with their wording. It's just something you have to deal with practice, of course. Okay, how to identify perpendicularity. I think this will be our last part for today. So a perpendicular line, it all depends on the slope. If you have y is equal to 3x plus 1, then the only thing that matters is the slope of the line. The y-intercept can be anything. So perpendicular lines, their slopes are the negative reciprocals of each other. Let me just type that out. Now, what does that mean? What that means is the value is, first of all, negative to the other one. So we have 3. We're going to make that -3. And reciprocal means we're flipping the numerator and denominator. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen, or at least some of you have seen this before. Most of the juniors and sophomores should probably know this. But if you have something like 2/5, the reciprocal of that would be 5/2. You're flipping the numerator and denominator. So -3 in this case is basically the same thing as -3/1. So the reciprocal of this would be -1/3. So that would be the slope that would make the second line perpendicular. Let's apply it to this question. So it's very obvious. The slope is -2. So and we have to make it a negative reciprocal, and negative just means applying the negative. It doesn't mean that the final answer is going to be negative. So -2 will turn into 2, which is basically 2/1, and we're going to turn that into a reciprocal form, which is 1/2, 1/2. C is the correct answer because it has 1/2 as its slope, which is the correct slope. Okay, here are some practice problems. Which of the following functions is perpendicular to the function above and parallel? You guys should be able to comfortably do this, and I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes to do it during. Apologies. Sorry, I had to go away for a bit, but we are all back. And also seems like someone has invaded the chat, so time to lock it. That always happens. Sorry, it's definitely not my first time that happened, but it just happens. Okay, which of the following functions is perpendicular to the function above? So this is pretty easy, the negative reciprocal, so 2 becomes -2, and then we flip it, so it's -1/2. The problem is none of these questions seem to have none of these answers seem to have -1/2 as their answer, for the slope at least. That's actually wrong. C is the correct answer, because if you expand this entire equation, you actually get -1/2, because 1/4 times -2x, that is -1/2 x. We don't even have to go any further. That is the correct slope, therefore C is the correct answer. Now, okay, which of the following functions is parallel to the function above? The correct answer is going to be A. Why is that the correct answer? Because they have the same exact slope. Now, D might seem like a viable option, but if you expand it, that is just 1/3 x plus 6, and they are the same line. They're not parallel, they're the same line. Small but important distinction. Now, with the session drawing to a close, I will point you guys to some resources. So all of these links are pretty great for practice. I will put them in the chat. And I'll just give a quick overview. Yeah, a lot of these functions are good for algebra and data analysis. We didn't do much data analysis today. We're gonna do that next session. The second sheet should be good for what we did today, but the second sheet's actually kind of hard from my experience. So give it a whirl. And Khan Academy is also a great resource. I know a lot of you probably groan in your head thinking, oh, it's Khan Academy, Khan's videos are so slow, but he does a good job with SAT prep. They have a lot of good practice questions, and it's not always him teaching with the video. And even if he is teaching, sometimes the slow pace is appreciated. And also College Board has a whole suite of resources and practice tests on their official websites. And Barron's and Kaplan's books are pretty good. You can consider buying those for prep. You have a question, Siraj?
Is it possible for you to post those links in the WhatsApp group?
Yeah, sure. I can totally do that.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, then. With that, I shall conclude this session. Thank you all so much for coming. Have a fantastic weekend. And I hope y'all just have a good night. Bye.